Commissioner Bart with those comments. We will start now with the joint county and city planning commissions with the city of Del Rapids. Call this meeting to order. This is a regular joint meeting of Minnehaha County and the Del Rapids Planning Commissions, and we'll make the same introductory comments I did before. Make sure your cell phones are turned off. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural areas surrounding the city. This area is displayed on the screen. After information and testimony is presented on the agenda item, members will discuss the matter, and then each planning commission will vote independently to arrive at a decision. When the joint agenda is completed, the City Planning Commission will adjourn, and the meeting will continue as the Sioux Falls and as the Minnehaha Planning Commission meeting. Any final action taken on the conditional use permit tonight will be referred to any final action taken on the conditional use permit tonight will be referred to the joint city council and county commission at a public hearing on Tuesday, the 21st of June at 9 o'clock. That's if we do not agree on the premises. At this time, the planning commission will consider the consent agenda minutes of the June 22nd, 2015 meeting are included on the consent agenda. And we just have, that is the only item on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, over here. Okay, so then we go to the regular agenda, which is conditional use permit number 16032 to allow a contractor storage yard, commercial roofing company on the south side of Del Rapids. I'll let you handle it from there, David.
Good evening, Planning Commission. David Heinold, Planning Department. Item number 2, conditional use permit 16-32 is to allow a contractor shop and storage yard or commercial roofing company. The petitioner is Jerry Bent, and the current property owners operate the restaurant and bar that is currently present on the site. The site is located just south or southwest of the newly annexed territory of the city of Del Rapids. Quartzsite Street is on the northern boundary of this, and that connects from on the eastern boundary of that in this industrial area, and then you have Highway 115 on the other side, which faces the south side of Del Rapids. This side right here. The petitioners requested hours of operation for the business would be 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and an occasional Saturday and Sunday from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. The narrative that the petitioner has supplied describes that there will be no outside activity after 8 p.m. The area on the north side of the building, and I'll go forward to the site plan and explain. As you can see, there are roughly, which is where the parking is currently laid out for the present use at this time. Petitioner has mentioned that there is the capacity for 50 parking spaces just off the north side of the building, which would be off of just south of that Quartzsite Street, which we'll get to in a minute. For clients, customers, and employees, the petitioner's business would have 7 employees on site working for the roofing business, and describes that there's enough parking for other trucks and other vehicles that would be associated with the petitioner's intended use of the roofing business. So staff consulted with the City of Del Rapids staff, and they've presented concerns over the current and potential septic systems that are on the property. Just move forward right here. This is a layout of the septic system that is currently on the site, which is about over a 3,000 gallon septic tank. Restaurant and bar with more visitors would allow a larger septic system size. As you see here on this map, the drain field is indicated right here, and then the lines to get to the tanks are located there. There's actually 3 tanks, individual ones. I believe those are 1,200 gallon tanks, so bringing that up to about 3,500, 3,600 gallons for the total capacity. Del Rapids will invest significant resources in infrastructure improvements. As you can see with this next slide, this is an exhibit that was supplied by the applicant of the future layout of the site, and this is Quartzsite Street. As you can see here, there's 3 access points denoted on there. And then this continues to go into the annexed territory that is currently in Del Rapids city limits, and development is occurring in the areas you'll see in some of the pictures that I've taken. And then as you go north, you go into the city of Del Rapids. And so other things that have been mentioned is the potential for allowing sanitary sewer hookups to the site in conjunction with the subject property, and avoiding all future issues from any future development of the site beyond what is the petitioner's intended use for the commercial roofing business or any improvements to the building and other things. Those are concerns that were presented to staff. Staff visited the property and determined that the proposed use of the lot for a commercial roofing business is appropriate for the immediate area and the surroundings. And I'll just go through some of the pictures that I took of the site. This is the area, as you see, just south of Quartzsite Street, of the parking areas with the curb stops, and then the main entrance to the building and restaurant where the current use right now. And the proposed use is located, as I mentioned, in that industrial area that's made up of things like warehouses and other uses, such as contractors' shops and storage yards and other businesses for storage units and other things. And moving forward, this is located on the eastern side of that building, located where that septic field would be, and then running off that way. This is the current enclosure for the trash and for the present use and what would be used on the site for future use. And this is where the drain field would be located. It's very shadowy, but you can see there's faint lines that you can see that indicate where the drain field is located. And moving forward, this is the west side of the building. Additional space that is currently enclosed in a chain link fence about 8 feet tall. Should be another area where it could be utilized for parking and other storage materials. This is the location looking straight east down Quartzsite Street, where future improvements would be made, roughly standing right about the center of where that would be and just where the flags are marked out. This is looking across on the other side of Highway 115, storage yard, warehousing, and other uses, is similar to what would be seen with particular use, but on probably less scale, because most of the stuff would be geared towards a roofing company, not necessarily contracting construction, road construction. This is looking back west on that Quartzsite Street towards proposed use in an area. And then additional development that is occurring in the area, industrial growth, as is seen with other warehousing and other uses that are to the south of the subject property that are on this map, but straight south on Highway 115 and Garfield Avenue. And this is looking towards that southern boundary towards the rest of the industrial area and the existing area that has been more commonly known for as an industrial area of warehousing and other shops. So the criteria that we take into effect, and I'll just go through some of these. The effect upon the normal and orderly development improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. The Envision 2035 comprehensive plan encourages commercial and industrial uses to locate in areas such as these existing rural service areas where access and services can be efficiently provided. Therefore, the proposed use should have a positive impact on the normally and orderly development as has occurred over time of the surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. As you can see, growth occurring around that in the area. The City of Del Rapids has been actively encouraging landowners to annex into city limits with recent improvements to infrastructure adjacent to the subject property. At a minimum, the applicant would be required to hard surface the driving and parking area, since the proposed use would be abutting Quartzsite Street, which would be accessed from a hard surface road, and by ordinance it would be, that requirement would stand that they would have to have a paved surface, which presently right now is a gravel driving surface, which would have to be, because Quartzsite Street was unimproved at that time. 3, that utilities, access roads, drainage, and other facilities necessary provided. Access provided for the proposed building and storage area and parking area will be provided via existing driveway approaches on the site, as I mentioned. And staff reviewed the septic system permit to ensure that proper provisions will be in place to allow the continued function of the system. Since this is an existing use, the septic system has been approved by the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources as a commercial land use. So no further utilities for the petitioner, and as mentioned in the staff report, will need to be provided for the proposed use. Other things, 5, that measures are taken to control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, vibration, and lighting, inclusive of lighted signs, so that none of these will constitute a nuisance. Staff does not foresee any issues with the proposed commercial roofing business to be located in an industrial area that's adjacent to the south side in between the Garfield Avenue and Highway 115, and just on that southern boundary of Quartzsite Street, the southern boundary of the city of Del Rapids presently. Any lighting on the property should be directed downward onto the property in order to prevent light spillage off-site. 6, health, safety, general welfare of the public and the comprehensive plan. The proposed commercial roofing business shall have no effect to health, safety, and general welfare of the public. The use of the business for storage and warehousing will create few problems for neighboring property owners. The subject property is located within the transition area for the city of Del Rapids, identified by the Envision 2035 comprehensive plan, which recognizes that these areas have a primary purpose of maintaining the rural landscape until eventual residential development or municipal annexation, as is occurring with this site in particular. The proposed use of the building for commercial roofing business should not affect the future growth of this area, given the present use of the land as a commercial operation and other uses that are in the vicinity for industrial and commercial development. So staff finds that the proposed use for a commercial roofing business to be an appropriate use for the I-1 Light Industrial District, which the land is currently zoned. Since the location for the proposed business is in an area of the county where commercial and industrial uses are encouraged to locate, there should be no nuisances caused by the proposed use. The staff recommends approval of conditional use permit 16-32 with the following conditions. 1, that CUP 1632 shall allow the use of the property for commercial roofing business. 2, that all outdoor storage areas be screened with a minimum 90% opacity fence. No outdoor storage shall be permitted on or around the septic system drain field area, so that's basically on the south side of the subject property itself. 3, that no materials, parts, shingles, etc. shall be allowed outside the fenced area. 4, that a building permit is required prior to construction of all storage buildings and for the installation of any signage. 5, that the signage shall be in conformance with Article 16 and 17 of the 2001 Revised Joint Zoning Ordinance for Minnehaha County and Del Rapids. 6, that all driveways, parking lots, and outdoor storage areas shall be in conformance with the requirements of Article 15 of the 2001 Revised Joint Zoning Ordinance. 7, that all outdoor lighting shall be of a full cutoff, fully shielded, designed to prevent direct spillage of light beyond the property boundary. And 8, that the Planning and Zoning Department reserves the right to enter and inspect the roofing business at any time after proper notice to the owner to ensure that the property is in full compliance with the conditional use permit conditions of approval in the Minnehaha County zoning ordinance. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you have.
Any questions for David? Yes, Bill.
David, I'm assuming that this currently is not in the city of Del Rapids, in their city limits?
This is not presently in the current city limits are this boundary in the yellow right here. As you can see, it's shaded out in gray. So the property is right here, just on the tucked away in the southwest part of it.
And do we know the annexation plans or timetable for the city?
What's been presented to me is that there has been an agreement with the property owner as far as annexation, but I think that's still a ways out, probably 5 to 10 years from now in terms of what the private agreement has been set forth. So there is potential for annexation, and that's up with the private landowners.
There are two pieces of property involved here. The one to the west that actually is right along Highway 15. In our agreement with these people, we've said we'll put 3 sewer and water into this property, and I would like to see us add that nobody can build or add anything else out there and put any septic tanks on this property. As long as we're paying to put water and sewer into it, they should be hooked up to it. Not the existing property. But if somebody buys the piece adjacent to the highway and builds on it, we want to see them hook up to the city water and sewer and not put a septic tank there.
A question, Mr. Chairman. So what is on that piece you just referenced now? Is it vacant?
It's just an empty lot.
Thank you.
But it's prime commercial property because right on 115. But to be honest with you, I can't see why anybody would waste their money putting in a septic system when they could hook up to city water and sewer. It'd be cheaper, but we'd just like to make sure they do.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The timeline for constructing the new, is it Quartzsite Street?
They're in the process now.
They've started the construction already.
Okay. And do you see the proposed parking area north of the building? Is that going to interfere with the construction of the street or any issues there?
I was foreseeing.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for David before we? We will hear from the petitioner. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Jerry Bent, owner of J&P Roofing, address 312 East 6th Street in Del Rapids, South Dakota.
All right, thank you. Any questions or concerns you had on the conditions?
Conditions, one of the concerns I had was the outdoor storage area. 90% coverage on the fence. None of the other properties in the area have chain link fence, and if they do, none of them have any kind of covering on them. So wondering why we have to have that
The
for.
reason he has to add that is our standard ordinance.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about BX across the road, they're grandfathered in.
Okay.
Now, when I was in the county, I built a fence around my property that you can't even see from the highway, because that's what they said we had to do.
Okay. Now, Mike, what do you consider storage outside? A trailer in the yard or materials?
Materials.
Materials.
Okay, then we probably won't need it because we won't store materials outside. Have a big enough building, you can store everything inside.
Okay.
Then on the north side of the building, you referenced the parking area. The parking area is crushed concrete, and I think if I, am right, crushed concrete is considered a hard surface area.
If it meets, there's a criteria, it has to be so thick. If it meets the criteria, yes.
Asphalt.
Crushed asphalt?
Crushed asphalt is the ordinance criteria, and it has to meet a minimum thickness, 4 inches minimum packed gravel base, and then you apply hot mix over time.
So how
to
many
the
parking
bottom.
areas do I have to pave or hard surface on the north side of that building?
All the areas that are adjacent to the front yard setback, off that road where you're accessing from, that's the hard surface area. Any areas adjacent to the front yard setback, which is
You're trying
port
to
side.
get he's trying to get a number, I believe.
Well,
Right?
what I'm wondering is, I have just a few employees, probably one employee that will be in that building, and that'll be a secretary. And I'm putting in a big paved parking lot for,
So all areas north of the fence would have to meet the standard.
okay. That's all I have.
Okay, any other questions of the petitioner?
Can you reduce the size of that parking lot?
The size of the parking lot is going to be based on this. There's a criteria, a formula that is based on the size of the building and what the use of the building is, and then we use that to determine how many parking spaces is the minimum, and we will calculate that for him and give him the number.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience care to address this issue?
Hello, I'm Justin Weiland. I'm the city administrator and zoning official with the city of Del Rapids. Our chairman, Chairman Deerduff, made mention of the septic system issue, and I just wanted to clarify that for the joint board here. So there was made mention of that in the staff report, the city's concerns about any additional septic systems on the applicant property, including any, it's a large septic system, any additional structures that would be placed that could then tie into that existing septic system. We've had our conversations with the staff. It's my understanding that the staff is not comfortable with placing additional septic systems as a condition of this conditional use. And I'm understanding of that. I think that they're consulted with the state's attorney on that as well. I guess from our perspective, we are putting in a pretty significant piece of infrastructure in front of this facility, this property, stubbing in water and sewer in 3 different locations. So what we'd ask is that, I guess, the planning staff, the planning commission in the future be cognizant of that, maybe be cautious about allowing any additional infrastructure, additional septic systems to be installed in the future. So we're not just creating kind of a more of a problem trying to connect those in the future. So I guess with that said, I'd take any questions on the property that anybody has to from the city.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to address this issue? Yes, come forward, state your name, please.
Hello, my name is Dean Comas. I'm the current owner of this property, my wife and I. When we came to the county commission 6 years ago to talk about all this, and the same thing came up as far as the hard surfacing of the parking lot, and we're like, this is a pretty major expense, what can we do? We were told at that time, and we went along with it, that crushed concrete or crushed blacktop was acceptable. And they came out and inspected it and okayed it, and they were perfect with it. So I guess anything that's changed since then is news to me, but we went along with it and we told them, we go, there's no way we can afford to do that. And they go, if you do crushed concrete or crushed blacktop, you have met the criteria for hard surface. And we did that. So I guess that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else care to address this issue? Otherwise, we'll close the floor. And turn to the commission for discussion or motion.
Have a motion on our side to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in
Okay,
favor?
motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve this motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, the only question for the applicant is that the fence with the opacity or whatever we call it, I don't have too much concern about that. I don't think it's too heavy a burden. Does anyone else have a concern?
Sort of a standard requirement
Yeah.
in all our
And,
contractor storage yards.
and based on what Mr. Werman said, then my understanding is what we would be approving here is in total agreement, and it's what the city has already made arrangements for, because we can't do some, it has to match, so to speak.
Yes. I believe that's my understanding.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So we have a second, motion and a second to approve item 2. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Motion carried on our side.
Okay, motion carries on the Dell side. That's our only deal, Roger? I hope so. You hope so? Okay, well, have a nice trip back to Dell. We'll see you next year.